Back in 2019, I started driving Uber after my second job cut my hours. I wasn't trying to make a career out of it. I just needed grocery money and a way to keep my rent from eating my whole paycheck. Most nights were normal. Airport runs, drunk couples, people who smelled like weed and fast food. The worst part was usually someone slamming my door or asking me to stop at a gas station without adding it in the app. This happened on a Thursday night in July. It was close to 1 a.m., and I was about to go home. I had already told myself one more ride, which is always a bad idea. The request came from outside a small apartment complex near the edge of town. Not a dangerous area. Just one of those places where half the buildings have porch lights out and the parking lot lines are almost gone. The passenger's name was M. The destination was only 12 minutes away. Easy money. When I pulled in, I didn't see anyone waiting. I sent the usual "I'm here" message and checked my mirrors. A minute later, a man came out from between two buildings. He was probably in his late 30s, average height, wearing a gray hoodie even though it was warm. He walked with his head down, one hand in the front pocket, the other holding a black duffel bag. He opened the back door behind me and got in without saying anything. "Hey, how's it going?" I asked. He didn't answer at first, then he said, "Fine." His voice was calm but flat, like he was reading the word off a screen. I started the ride. The first thing I noticed was the smell. Not body odor, not alcohol. It was more like bleach mixed with pennies. I know that sounds dramatic, but that's the only way I can explain it. Clean and metallic at the same time. I glanced in the rearview mirror. He was sitting right behind me, which I hated. Most people sit on the passenger side. His duffel bag was on his lap, both hands wrapped around it. About 2 minutes into the ride, the app told me to turn left toward an older neighborhood with a bunch of small one-story houses. He leaned forward and said, "Don't take that way." I looked at him in the mirror. The app says this is faster. "I know, don't take that way." His tone didn't change. He wasn't angry. That made it worse. I said, "Okay. Do you have another route you want me to take?" "Just keep going straight." I kept going straight. I told myself he probably knew about construction or a closed road. Drivers get used to strange little requests, and most of them end up being nothing. A few minutes later, he asked, "Do you always record?" I looked at the small dash cam under my windshield. "Yeah, for safety." He stared at it. "Does it record inside too?" "Audio and video," I said, and that was a lie. It only recorded the road. I had bought the cheap one. He sat back and didn't say anything else for a while. We passed the actual destination on the app. It was a closed laundromat in a strip mall. The parking lot was empty, except for a white pickup parked near the dumpster. I slowed down and said, "This is the spot." "No, keep going." I checked the app again. It says the drop-off is here. I put the wrong address. That happens sometimes, but something about it felt off. "You can update it in the app." "My phone is dead." His phone wasn't dead. I had heard it vibrate twice. I kept my voice polite. "I can drop you here, or you can update the trip. I can't keep driving without the address changed." He leaned forward again. I could see his face better in the mirror now. He had a thin cut across one cheek, not deep, but fresh enough that it looked red and shiny. "It's close," he said. "Just a few more blocks." I didn't move for a second. The light above the laundromat flickered, and the white pickup's windows were too dark to see inside. Then he added, "I'll tip you." People say that when they're not going to tip. I should have ended the ride right there. Instead, I drove. He directed me into a neighborhood I didn't know. The houses were older and spaced farther apart. Some had boats in the driveway, some had cars up on blocks. There were no people outside, no dogs barking, just porch lights and dark windows. "Turn here," he said. I turned onto a narrow street with no streetlights. My headlights caught trash bins, mailboxes, and overgrown hedges. Halfway down the block, he said, "Slow down." I did. Then he said, "Kill the lights." I actually laughed because I thought I misheard him. "What?" "Turn the headlights off." "No," I said. For the first time his voice changed. "Turn them off." My hands tightened on the wheel. "I'm not doing that." He went quiet. Then I heard the zipper on the duffel bag move. It was slow. Not loud, but in a quiet car at 1 a.m., every sound feels close. I didn't look back. I kept my eyes forward and said, "I'm going to pull over and end the ride." "No, you're not." That was when I knew this wasn't just an awkward passenger. I reached for the phone mount, pretending to adjust the map, and tapped the emergency shield in the Uber app. My thumb was shaking so bad I almost missed it. I didn't know exactly what it did at the time. I just knew it was there. He said, "What are you doing?" "Nothing." The app froze. The bag shifted behind me. The bleach smell got stronger. I don't know if it was from the bag or from him moving closer. At the end of the street, there was a stop sign. To the right, I could see a main road with lights and a gas station about a quarter-mile down. He said, "Left." I turned right. He immediately slammed his hand into the back of my seat. I said left. I hit the gas. He grabbed at my shoulder from behind, not like he was trying to pull me back, more like he was trying to scare me into stopping. I swerved but kept going. My tires jumped the curb for half a second, and the duffel bag fell off his lap. Something heavy hit the floor. He cursed under his breath and bent down for it. That gave me enough time to reach the gas station. I pulled right up to the front door, where the pumps were bright and two guys were standing outside smoking. I threw the car in park and jumped out with the keys still in my hand. The man stayed in the back seat. One of the guys smoking asked, "You good?" I said, "No." That was all I could get out. The back door opened. The man got out slowly, holding the duffel bag. He didn't run. He didn't yell. He just looked at me like I had embarrassed him. Then he said, "You're overreacting." The gas station door opened, and the clerk stepped outside with a phone in his hand. I think he had seen my face and already called someone. The man looked at the clerk, then at the two guys, then back at me. He smiled. Not a big movie smile. Just a small, tired one. Then he walked around the side of the building and disappeared behind the car wash. The police got there maybe 10 minutes later. By then, Uber had already called me too. I gave the officers his name from the app, the pickup location, the laundromat drop-off, everything. They searched around the gas station but didn't find him. One officer asked if I had seen what was in the bag. I told him no, just that it sounded heavy when it hit the floor. I also told him about the smell. The officer and his partner looked at each other when I said that. That look stayed with me. They took my statement and told me to go home. I asked if I was in trouble for not dropping him at the app location, and the officer said, "You did the right thing." The next morning, I woke up to 3 missed calls from a number I didn't know. There was one voicemail. It was a detective. I called back, and he asked me to come in to answer a few more questions. He wouldn't tell me much over the phone, but when I got there, he asked me to describe the passenger again, the hoodie, the cut on his cheek, the duffel bag, the route, the white pickup at the laundromat. Then he showed me a photo. It was him. Same tired eyes, same thin mouth. No hoodie this time. I said yes, that was the guy. The detective told me they had found the pickup behind the laundromat later that morning. It had been reported stolen 2 days earlier. Inside the bed, under a tarp, they found cleaning supplies, zip ties, a roll of plastic sheeting, and a woman's purse. He didn't say what they thought happened to the woman. He only said they were still looking. I asked if they caught him. He said not yet. For about 2 weeks after that, I checked every back seat before I got in my car. I stopped driving at night. I blocked every unknown number. I kept thinking about that moment when he told me to turn the headlights off. A month later, I got an email from Uber saying the rider's account had been removed for violating community guidelines. That was it. No update from the police. No news article that I could find. Nothing with his name. Nothing about the purse. I still don't know why he ordered the ride. Maybe he needed to get away from the truck. Maybe he wanted me to drive him somewhere darker. Maybe he picked me because I was the closest person awake and willing to let a stranger sit behind me. The part that bothers me most is how calm he was. Even when I turned the wrong way, even when I ran into the gas station, he never acted panicked. He acted annoyed, like I had ruined something he had done before. I drove Uber during the week because weekends got too messy. I worked early mornings at a grocery warehouse, so I usually drove from about 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., grabbed dinner, then went home. My car was nothing special, just a clean black Corolla with seat covers and a phone mount that shook every time I hit a pothole. This happened on a Tuesday, which is part of why it bothered me so much. Tuesdays were boring. Airport rides, people going home from work, someone getting dropped at a pharmacy. Nothing dramatic. Around 9:15, I got a pickup at a small apartment complex off Mill Road. The trip was going to a neighborhood across town, about 20 minutes away. The passenger's name was Aaron. When I pulled in, the complex looked half empty. A few porch lights were on. One guy was carrying groceries upstairs. A dog was barking behind a closed door somewhere. I parked near Building C, where the app told me to stop. After a minute, a woman came out. She looked normal. That was the first thing. Late 30s maybe, hair tied back, plain blue sweatshirt, black leggings, small purse over one shoulder. She wasn't rushing. She didn't look drunk. She got in behind the passenger seat and gave me the polite, tired smile people give when they've had a long day. "Hey, how are you?" I asked. "Good," she said. "Thanks for coming." Her voice was soft, calm. I started the ride. For the first 5 minutes, everything was normal. She asked if I had been busy. I said it was steady. She said she didn't drive anymore because traffic made her nervous. I made some basic comment about how drivers had gotten worse lately. Then she said, "Do you ever get riders who don't talk?" "All the time," I said. "Honestly, I don't mind." "I don't either," she said. That was when the conversation should have ended, but it didn't. She kept talking in small, flat pieces like she was reading lines off a card. "My husband used to drive people around," she said. "Oh yeah?" "Not for Uber." I waited for her to explain. She looked out the window. "He just liked knowing where people lived." I glanced at the mirror, thinking I had misheard her, or maybe she was making a dry joke. Her face didn't move. "That sounds intense," I said, because I couldn't think of anything else. She gave a tiny laugh. "He was intense." I focused on the road. The GPS had me going down Northfield, then cutting through a long residential stretch. It was one of those areas where every house had the same brick mailbox and the same two-car garage. Quiet, decent, boring. Then her phone rang. The ringtone wasn't a song. It was just the basic old phone sound. She let it ring for a while before answering. She didn't say hello. She listened. Then she said, "I'm in the car." Another pause. "No, I didn't tell him." I looked at her in the mirror again. She was staring at the back of my head. I said I didn't tell him. I felt my stomach tighten. She lowered the phone from her ear but didn't hang up. The call timer was still running. "You can turn left here," she said. "The GPS said to keep straight," I said. "It's showing straight for another mile." "Left is faster." It wasn't. I knew the area well enough to know that left led into a loop of older streets with barely any lights, but she said it like she had already decided for me. "I'm going to stick with the GPS," I said. That's when she leaned forward just a little. "He doesn't like when drivers do that." I kept my eyes on the road. "Who?" "My husband." I gave a polite little laugh, trying to drain the weirdness out of the car. "Well, I don't want to upset anybody, but Uber tracks the route, so I try to follow it." She sat back. The phone was still on in her hand. A minute later, she said, "He's not my husband anymore." I didn't answer. "He says that's a legal thing, though, not a real thing." The car felt too small all at once. I could hear the air coming from the vents. I could hear the quiet click of my turn signal as I got into the right lane. Then her phone speaker came on. A man's voice filled the back seat. "Ask him what kind of car it is." I froze for half a second. The woman looked at me in the mirror. "What kind of car is this?" I didn't answer right away. The man's voice said, "He can hear me." My hands tightened on the wheel. "Ma'am," I said, keeping my voice even, "I'm going to pull into this gas station up here." "No," she said quickly, not loud, just scared. That scared me more than if she had yelled. The man on the phone said, "Don't pull in anywhere." I was coming up on a small gas station with bright pumps and a few cars outside. I moved into the turning lane. The woman suddenly unbuckled her seatbelt. The sound was sharp in the car. "Please don't," she said. I couldn't tell if she was saying it to me or the man on the phone. I pulled into the gas station anyway. The second my tires crossed into the lot, the man on the phone started laughing. Not loud, not wild. Just a low laugh, like something had gone exactly how he expected. "Good," he said. "Now he's involved." I parked near the front door and kept the engine running. The woman didn't get out. She stared down at her purse, breathing through her nose like she was trying not to cry. The phone was still on speaker in her lap. The man said, "Tell him to finish the ride." I looked at her in the mirror. "Do you need help?" She didn't answer. "Do you want me to call the police?" Her head snapped up. "No." The way she said it made me stop reaching for my phone. The man laughed again. "She knows better." At that point, I ended the ride on the app. My hands were shaking enough that I hit the screen twice before it worked. "I can't continue," I said. "You can wait inside the store if you need to." She looked toward the doors of the gas station, then back at the street. "He's already close," she said. I looked out across the lot. A white pickup truck was stopped on the far side of the road, parked half on the shoulder, half near the curb. Its lights were off. I hadn't noticed it before. The woman noticed me looking. "He follows the rides," she whispered. That sentence made everything click in the worst way. She wasn't the danger. She was bait, or she was trapped, maybe both. The man on the phone said, "Driver, listen to me." I didn't. I grabbed my keys, stepped out of the car, and went straight into the gas station. I told the clerk there was a situation in my car and asked him to call 911. He didn't argue. He looked past me through the glass and picked up the phone. The woman stayed in my back seat for maybe 10 seconds. Then she got out. She didn't come inside. She walked across the parking lot toward the road, slow and stiff, like she was afraid of making the wrong move. The white pickup's headlights came on. I remember the clerk saying, "Is she with him?" I didn't answer because I had no idea. The truck rolled forward and stopped near the edge of the lot. The passenger door opened from the inside. The woman stood there for a moment, then she turned and looked back at me through the gas station window. Her face was empty, not peaceful, not relieved. Empty like someone who had run out of choices a long time ago. She got into the truck. It pulled away before the police arrived. When the officers got there, I gave them everything. Her name from the app, the pickup spot, the direction the truck went. They took it seriously enough at first, but there wasn't much they could do without a plate. I hadn't gotten one. I was too focused on her. One officer asked if she had threatened me. I said no. He asked if the man had threatened me. I said, "Not exactly." And that was the problem. Everything sounded small when I said it out loud. A strange phone call, a passenger who didn't want me to stop, a truck with its lights off, a man laughing. The officer told me to report it to Uber. So I did. The response came 2 days later. They said the rider's account had been flagged and they appreciated me prioritizing safety. That was it. A week passed, and I almost convinced myself it was a domestic situation I had misunderstood. A scary one, sure, but not my story anymore. Then I got another ride request. Same apartment complex, same building. Passenger name, Aaron. I stared at the screen until the request timed out. 30 seconds later, it came in again. Same pickup, same name. This time, the destination was my apartment complex. I had never taken her there. I had never mentioned where I lived. My Uber profile didn't show my address to riders. I logged out immediately. That night, I parked my car 2 blocks away and slept on my couch with the lights on. The next morning, there was a voicemail from an unknown number. I still don't know how they got my number. It was only 4 seconds long. The same man's voice, calm and close, saying, "You should have finished the ride." I deleted the Uber app that morning.